perfectly healthy 23-year-old military police officer. He's just doing his job.
Right, just on a normal patrol.
Exactly. He's patrolling a neighborhood in a rainstorm, and he comes across something completely bizarre, and he physically captures it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and in the process, he brushes his bare skin against it. Well, within days, this young, incredibly fit soldier is dead.
That is, I mean, that's just terrifying.
It is. He was killed by this incredibly aggressive infection that just, like, causes his immune system to completely collapse. And the craziest part...
Your autopsy, right.
Yes. The pathologist conducting his autopsy, they realized that the biological pathogen that killed him, it doesn't respond to any antibiotics on Earth. It is an entirely unearthly infection.
Man.
And rather than, investigating this profound medical anomaly, the government's very first reflex is just to erase him from the record completely. I mean, I know it sounds like the plot of a science fiction thriller, but we are looking at sworn testimonies here, recently declassified files that suggest this is a totally grounded historical reality.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are taking you through a stack of highly sensitive, recently declassified, and honestly paradigm-shifting sources regarding unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs.
Yeah, we've got a lot to get through today.
We do. And our mission for this deep dive is to move way past the blurry internet videos, past the internet rumors. We want to look at the deeply human, grounded reality of the current disclosure moment you and I are living in right now.
Because it's not just lights in the sky anymore.
Exactly. It's about the gravity of the evidence. It's about whistleblowers who risked absolutely everything. We're talking about the scientific stagnation caused by, decades of extreme secrecy and really the psychological impact this is having on society and on you as a listener. Well, the landscape has fundamentally shifted. And the immediate catalyst for this, the reason we even have these new sources right now is the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters.
The PURC initiative.
Right, PURC, which is this whole-of-government initiative directed by President Donald Trump to release government files on a rolling basis.
And when we say whole of government, we're talking DOD, OD&I, NASA, the FBI, right?
All of them. They were instructed to push these out for what the administration is calling maximum transparency. And we've seen 3 massive tranches of files already, May 8th, May 22nd, and June 12th of this year, 2026.
Yeah, I've been looking through these files, and I can't help but feel like we're getting pieces of a puzzle without the picture on the box,
What's fascinating here is that while PURSU is undeniably a historic step for transparency, we have to remember that raw data alone is not disclosure.
Right. Throwing a PDF at the public isn't the same as explaining it.
Exactly. Releasing a file is one thing, but providing context is another. Take the June 5th, 2026 report by ARA Director John Kozlowski.
Okay, yeah, that one was wild.
It was. It details an October 2023 incident where law enforcement witnessed this enormous orange, quote-unquote, mother orb in the sky. And it just started launching smaller red orbs.
And ARROW is the government's own anomaly resolution office, right?
Right, and they deemed that specific event 40% unresolved.
See, let me push back on that for just a second. I mean, an orange orb launching smaller orbs, couldn't that just be like a really sophisticated drone swarm, like a mothership drone deploying quadcopters? Why jump straight to anomalous?
No, it's a totally fair question. And honestly, it's exactly what ARROW looks for first.
Okay.
But the reason they labeled it unresolved is because the flight characteristics didn't match any known drone capabilities on Earth.
How so?
Well, we're talking about the total absence of rotors, no thermal exhaust, and the ability to just hover indefinitely and then accelerate at speeds that would physically crush conventional hardware. Yeah, so they are officially admitting, on paper, that they have no conventional earthly explanation for nearly half of the phenomena observed in that single, highly documented incident.
Okay, that is staggering. But, I mean, the government didn't just wake up one day in 2026 and decide to start sharing these files out of the goodness of their hearts, right? This transparency was forced.
Absolutely forced.
So how did we get here? What kind of pressure actually cracks an 80-year-old wall of absolute secrecy?
Honestly, it requires individuals who are willing to ruin their own lives. It really comes down to whistleblowers and journalists who simply refuse to be silenced.
And the systemic retaliation they face for that.
Exactly, for just trying to look behind the curtain.
Okay, let's unpack this because the human toll in these sources is just infuriating. I want to look at the heavily redacted Department of Defense Inspector General report that came out on January 7th, 2026.
Right, the David Grush report.
Yeah. Grush was a former intelligence official who came forward with claims about legacy crash retrieval programs. And the thing is, he followed all the rules. He made protected legal disclosures to the Inspector General.
And his reward was having his security clearance abruptly revoked in December 2022.
Exactly. And if you read the internal government communications revealed in that IG report, it is so telling. You have personnel inside the Consolidated Adjudications Facility, the people who manage these clearances, and they're openly confused.
Yeah, they were literally sending emails asking, "Where is whistleblowing?" with all these exclamation points. They didn't even know how to process a legally protected UAP disclosure.
Wait, so they were confused, but they still went ahead and stripped his clearance anyway?
Well, yeah, because they were operating under this massive contradictory mandate. The report shows they had deep concerns over the, quote, optics of punishing him. I mean, they knew it looked exactly like retaliation.
So what did they do?
They used systemic compartmentalization as a weapon against him.
What does that actually mean in this context, though? Like, how do you weaponize compartmentalization against one guy?
By isolating him through administrative traps. Like, okay, during an entirely unrelated counterintelligence polygraph, which is just a routine test to make sure you aren't a foreign spy, Grush was subjected to what the report actually calls phishing attacks.
Phishing attacks. Like an email scam.
Kind of, but in an interrogation. The interrogator started slipping in highly specific trap questions about the exact UAP disclosures that Grush had already legally made to the IG.
Oh, wow. Just trying to catch him slipping out.
Trying to catch him in a technical security violation, yeah. He was effectively blacklisted from the entire intelligence community and stripped of his livelihood, just for following the legal whistleblower process.
It's just institutional bullying. And, according to journalist Jeremy Corbell's new documentary, Sleeping Dog, it gets so much darker than just losing a job.
Oh, much darker.
Corbell claims that the ODNI's Directors Initiative Group, which, by the way, was presented to the public as this safe, protected channel for whistleblowers, was actually functioning as a honey trap.
Yeah, a mechanism literally designed to identify the leaks, surveil them, and plug them, not to protect the whistleblowers at all.
Corbell and his colleague, George Knapp, they fed sources into this group in good faith for like 9 months. And Corbell claims every single person they brought in had their phones, their computers, their comms, all surveilled by the CIA.
It's a massive breach of trust.
But here is the part that genuinely shocked me. They allege this group actually fabricated a claim against a witness named Dylan Borland. They asserted he had drawn a classified sensor system.
Right.
They basically engineered a lie to expose this man to a treason charge, and treason carries the death penalty.
It's an extreme abuse of power, and it's designed to send a very chilling message to anyone else who might be thinking of talking.
So help me understand the logic here. I mean, if UAPs are really just weather balloons or atmospheric glitches or, I don't know, misidentified drones, why would intelligence agencies go to the extreme length of surveilling journalists and threatening whistleblowers with the death penalty?
You don't.
Right. You do not threaten to execute a citizen over a weather balloon.
No, you absolutely don't. You only erect those kinds of lethal protective measures around something that is fundamentally paradigm shifting.
Yeah.
Or something that is technologically invaluable.
And the people pushing for transparency know this.
Yeah, they know they have the government cornered right now. Corbell currently holds 46 specific file names that he already provided to Congress, and that includes a highly compelling 2021 UAP incident in Syria.
He's basically holding a dead man's switch.
Exactly. He's saying if the government doesn't release the truth through peer issue, he will do it himself.
And it's not just living whistleblowers forcing this issue either.
Right. Sleeping Dog also highlights files left behind posthumously by a senior cybersecurity official at Los Alamos Laboratories.
Which proves what, exactly?
It proves that a highly scientific, classified military study of UFOs has been happening right under our noses for decades.
Okay, so if the military is studying this in secret, what is the cost to the rest of us? Like, if they have these files, why does it matter to me if the public doesn't?
Because of the profound stagnation of our scientific advancement, and honestly, the horrifying medical neglect of people who have been physically injured by these phenomena.
Yeah, the compartmentalization hasn't just hidden spacecraft.
No, it has halted science and it has actively harmed citizens.
The medical aspect of this is just wild to me. Let's talk about Dr. Gary Nolan. He is a Stanford pathology professor. He co-founded the Sol Foundation. And he's just an absolute titan in immunology.
Brilliant guy.
And the sources state that the CIA and various aerospace companies actually approached Dr. Nolan to study medical issues in individuals who got too close to UAPs.
Yeah, they realized they needed to talk to your immunologist to understand the physiological damage that was being done to military and intelligence personnel.
And the human impacts are brutal. Nolan investigated cases that eventually became known to the public as Havana syndrome. Now, he ties this to directed energy or microwave weapons.
Right.
But how does a microwave weapon actually damage a human brain? Like, what is the biological mechanism there?
Well, think about how a normal microwave oven works in your kitchen. It agitates water molecules to create heat, right?
Mhm.
So in a targeted directed energy exposure, you are essentially cooking the fluid in the brain in the inner ear.
Jeez.
Yeah. It causes instant severe inflammation, it destroys neural pathways, and leads to traumatic brain injury symptoms, but without any external blunt force trauma.
That is absolutely terrifying. And then you have these cases like veteran John Burroughs. Burroughs had a UAP encounter near a nuclear storage facility and then subsequently developed these severe heart issues.
Right. He needed care.
But when he tried to get medical help, his files were classified as top secret by the Veterans Administration. He was denied proper care because the mere cause of his injury was classified.
It is a profound betrayal. You have a service member injured in the line of duty, and he's just abandoned because treating him would require the government admitting what injured him in the first place.
It's like being in a hospital where the cardiologists aren't allowed to talk to the neurologist because of a non-disclosure agreement.
That's a great analogy.
And as a result, the patient, which in this case is humanity's scientific progress, is just flatlining. I mean, think about the materials in the smartphone you're using to listen to this deep dive right now. If advanced science has been locked away for 80 years, what kind of medical or technological breakthroughs has the public been robbed of?
And when brilliant minds do try to bridge that gap and figure it out, they are threatened. Dr. Nolan faced massive stigma from his own academic community.
Yeah, senior official at the National Cancer Institute explicitly warned him that studying UAPs could, quote, ruin his career.
But Nolan pushed forward anyway. He studied the Atacama mummy, which actually turned out to be human, but with unprecedented mutations. And he also analyzed anomalous isotopic silicon from a UFO incident in Ubatuba, Brazil.
Wait, pause there, because this is where the science gets incredibly dense. What makes silicon anomalous or isotopic?
Yeah.
And why does a piece of silicon from Brazil prove it wasn't just made in some standard factory?
It all comes down to the atomic recipe. So elements like silicon naturally occur on Earth with a very specific, consistent ratio of isotopes.
Okay.
If you analyze a piece of metal and that isotopic ratio is fundamentally different from anything found on our planet, it tells you one of two things.
The jar.
Either someone spent billions of dollars to engineer this material at the atomic level for absolutely no apparent reason, or the material did not originate in our solar system. Yeah, Nolan found material engineering that deviates from standard earthly manufacturing. But because this data is largely locked in special access programs, these deeply classified, unacknowledged silos within the government, we are fundamentally crippling our understanding of physics, material science, and biology.
So Dr. Nolan is trying to study the biological and material aftermath of these encounters. But to study biology, you need a biological event, right? Has there actually been a documented case where we recovered more than just unusual metal?
Yes, there has. And it's a case that proves these entities aren't just abstract lights in the sky. They have terrifying, grounded, physical precedents. We really need to look at the 1996 Varginha, Brazil incident.
This is often called the Roswell of Brazil, right?
It is, and for good reason.
Yeah.
Though honestly, the sheer volume of independent, cross-corroborating civilian and medical witnesses makes it arguably much more compelling than Roswell.
Let's look at the January 20th, 2026 National Press Club event hosted by filmmaker James Fox, because he actually brought the first-hand witnesses from Varginha all the way to Washington.
Yeah, the testimony of the civilian witness, Carlos de Souza, gives you absolute chills.
He was an ultralight pilot driving near Varginha when he witnessed this distressed, cigar-shaped craft. It was losing altitude, releasing white smoke, and it had a massive lateral tear down the side.
And as a pilot, de Souza recognized immediately that this was an aircraft in severe mechanical failure.
So he followed it to the crash site. And the specific sensory details he described at the press conference are so visceral. He said the area smelled terribly of ammonia and rotten eggs.
Right, like sulfur.
Yeah, it literally burned his eyes. And he picked up a piece of the wreckage. He described it as this lightweight fragment that looked like aluminum foil. But when he crumples it in his hand and lets go, it instantly resumes its original smooth shape.
A shape memory metal.
Right. And why is that a big deal for 1996 in rural Brazil?
Because the atomic lattice structure required for a metal to undergo extreme kinetic stress, deform, and then perfectly reorganize itself without heat treatment, that was wildly beyond standard commercial manufacturing at the time, let alone something you'd just find scattered in a cow pasture.
But de Souza didn't get to hold it for long. A Brazilian military soldier approached him fast, hit him square in the chest with a rifle, and aimed it at his head. He ordered him to leave or have his head split open.
The military lockdown was instantaneous, and it was highly aggressive. But the Varginha case isn't just about a crashed machine. Like you said, it was a biological event.
Yeah?
The medical testimonies from that press conference are what truly shift the paradigm.
You're talking about Dr. Ítalo Venturelli.
Yes, a highly respected neurosurgeon who went on the record to testify that he spent 4 minutes face-to-face with a live, captured entity in his hospital's intensive care unit.
Wait, a real practicing neurosurgeon went on the record saying he treated a living, non-human intelligence.
He did. And he described the being in striking clinical detail. Brown, oily skin, slight horn-like protrusions on its head, and red eyes.
That is hard to wrap your head around.
It is, but the physical description wasn't even the most shocking part. Dr. Venturelli claimed he experienced telepathic communication with the creature.
Okay, telepathy. That is where I struggle a bit. That sounds like mysticism, not medicine. How does a neurosurgeon justify a claim like that?
Well, he described it as an intrusive, nonverbal transmission of thought and emotion that bypassed auditory senses entirely.
Like it was put directly into his mind.
Exactly. The psychological connection was so profound and invasive that long after the event, he found himself dreaming about the creature's potassium levels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't a spiritual experience for him. To him, it was a deeply invasive neurological interaction.
Which brings us back to the tragic hook of this entire deep dive. This biological reality was incredibly dangerous. We have to talk about Marco Eli Chereese, the 23-year-old Brazilian military police soldier known as Marquese.
Right. Marquese was part of the military team that physically captured one of these entities in the brush.
And in the process of capturing it, he touched it with his bare skin. And shortly after, this young, perfectly healthy soldier developed that unprecedented, untreatable infection we discussed earlier.
Yeah, the autopsy pathologist testified that the biologics of the pathogen were simply not of this world.
There were zero pharmaceuticals on Earth that could fight it. He died simply because he made physical contact with a non-human entity.
A 23-year-old kid died. His immune system was totally obliterated by an alien pathogen. And the official institutional response was just to erase the entire event.
It's maddening.
Look at the newly released files from the Superior Tribunal Militar, that's the Brazilian military court. These were just released on January 6th, 2026. They officially dismissed the entire Varginha incident as a, quote, result of mistake and rumors.
A mistake.
Yeah, they claim the witnesses saw a local man covered in mud.
Despite a dead soldier, despite a neurosurgeon, despite a pilot seeing a crashing craft.
And this cover-up wasn't just a local Brazilian effort either. Multiple testimonies allege that U.S. Air Force planes landed without standard authorization shortly after the crash, and they took both the craft and the biological entities, living and dead, back to the United States.
It really demonstrates how deeply coordinated the global silence on this topic truly is.
It does.
It's breathtaking. So let's pull back and look at the big picture here. We have the President of the United States forcing the release of PRSU's files. We have whistleblowers like Grush facing down the entire intelligence apparatus.
Right.
We have neurosurgeons and pilots testifying about crashed ships and unearthly pathogens. Society is basically being handed the greatest revelation in human history. So why isn't everyone panicking?
Yeah.
Why is the public seemingly just, going to work, grabbing a coffee, and tuning it all out?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of human psychology, the public's apathy actually makes perfect sense.
Really? How so?
In the sociological frameworks analyzing this disclosure, experts point to cognitive dissonance and cognitive overload.
Okay, meaning we're just too stressed out already.
Exactly. We are already living in a world saturated with immediate, pressing stressors. Inflation, political polarization, global conflicts. Our brain's bandwidth is completely maxed out.
That makes sense.
So when you introduce a reality that shatters our understanding of physics, biology, and humanity's supreme place in the food chain, the brain simply cannot process that alongside the grocery bill.
It's just too much data for the system to handle.
Exactly. It triggers a psychological defense mechanism known as terror management theory.
Can you clarify that?
Yeah.
What exactly is terror management theory?
It is the idea that human beings have a subconscious built-in buffer against existential dread.
Okay.
So when we are faced with something that reminds us of our total lack of control, like, say, a non-human intelligence operating in our airspace with impunity, or a pathogen that Earth medicine literally cannot treat, our brains subconsciously block out the paradigm-shattering information to protect our sanity.
Wow.
Yeah, we trivialize it to survive it.
It's easier to laugh it off or call it a weather balloon than to face the ontological shock of not being the apex intelligence in the universe.
Much easier.
So what does this all mean for you, the person listening to this right now? If the government is trickling out data and our brains are naturally trying to ignore it, where do we go from here?
Well, we have to actively build psychological resilience, and we have to demand systemic change outside of the military. We cannot rely solely on the intelligence apparatus to drip feed us the truth.
Right.
The sources point to a massive need for open-source civilian sensor networks like the Galileo project to bypass military secrecy entirely. We need transparent data that belongs to humanity and not just to defense contractors.
And we desperately need empathy. We need robust medical and psychological support frameworks for the experiencers, for the veterans like John Burroughs who were physically injured, and for the whistleblowers like David Grutch who had their lives totally upended.
We have to strip away the stigma so that commercial pilots and military personnel can report what they see without fear of losing their careers or just being mocked.
The scientific community really has to step up too. When we stop ridiculing the anomalous, we allow our brightest minds to investigate it without fear of ruined careers.
And that is how we prevent the stagnation of human knowledge. That is how we unlock the physics and the medicine of the future.
I want to leave you with a thought. Think back to Marchese, that 23-year-old soldier in Brazil, and Dr. Venturelli, the neurosurgeon. They crossed paths with something so entirely outside our biological understanding that it cost a life and changed another forever.
Yeah.
And our institution's very first instinct, their immediate reflex, was to hide it. To threaten, to obscure, to let a patient die and a soldier be erased, rather than admit the truth.
It's sobering.
If global governments are willing to go to those terrifying extremes to hide the biological reality of our universe, what else about our daily reality is being kept in the dark simply because we are too afraid to rewrite our textbooks? The secrecy is fracturing. The question is no longer if the truth is coming out. The question is, how will you choose to integrate this vast, strange new reality into your everyday life?